Sounds good. Nigeria Chambers from Big Gold Belt Media. Damian and Sherman, thank you so much for your time today. Very excited to talk about your new series, Emperor of Ocean Park, coming to MGM Plus July 14th. Gentlemen, how you feeling?
Great,
Feeling
man.
great, man. How you feeling?
Good, good. A lot of questions, little bit of time. I want to start off by asking about the collaborative effort with Steven here, and then what creative freedoms were you, should I almost say, was suggested to take in terms of creating your own story for television?
That's a great question. I mean, obviously we have the book that's now a beloved book for the past couple of decades.
Yeah.
There have been other attempts to bring this to the screen because it was a perennial bestseller for quite some time. The creative freedom and that I had was basically to tell the best version of the story as I saw it. And I've always felt like once I did that, they would look at it and see if they thought it worked or not. Luckily for me, when I shared it with Warner Brothers, I shared it with John Wells Productions, they saw the vision. They saw what I was trying to do with the flashbacks. They saw what I was trying to do with the character development and also the levity I wanted to bring to it. So we were on board and locked in with each other very early on. And I think once they saw that first draft, they were like, go, do your thing.
Amazing. Listen, something about Forrest Whitaker and MGM Plus. You're just automatically going to get a banger, and he's obviously a fantastic actor because for all of his work in Godfather My Harlem, that character nowhere near as in this character as Judge Garland. But this character, because I have a colleague on Big O Bell Media who's read the books, and he told me he's like, that's an interesting casting choice because Judge Garland doesn't really have a lot in the novel. And I've seen the series, and you all have said, "Oh, we got Forrest Whitaker. Of course, we're going to give him so much more." Can you talk about that sort of just, appreciation for his talent, but also being able to write so much more for the character?
Yeah, I'll jump in and say, look, the book is sophisticated in the best possible way. I don't even want to say complicated because I feel like that has a negative connotation. It's complex.
Right.
It's sophisticated. It's twisty and turny. It's very intricate. A lot about what goes on with the judge in the book is Talcott Garland sort of reflecting to the audience about things that happened in the past. For me, it's very important as a writer and as a filmmaker and a producer to put things on screen, right? We don't want things to happen off screen in the past. We want to see them happen. And so this story really lent itself to a really sophisticated backstory that exists in flashbacks where we could feature Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, go for it, Damien. I know you want to add something on that one.
While you guys were talking about that, I was just thinking of the episode in which we really get into the chess, and Tal remembers his father taking him to the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hearing, I'm visualizing what you all are talking about and realizing that is what makes the show so special, that it isn't just about the big thing that we need to solve what happened to the judge, but let's find out who we are and who the judge is, right? And there's even a look that when you get to that episode and the audience gets there, that there's something that's inaudible between the judge and Addison, because Addison, when they get back from the chess tournament, and that's actually one of my favorite moments because these are all the things that usually aren't captured. It's usually just that's who he was, this is the guy, that's the story. This really humanizes even some of the larger figures, I think, in our culture.
For my last question, we do bounce around in the timelines here in terms of the storytelling. It's not linear by any means. Can you talk about sort of what's sort of the expectation with your cast to hold consistency through a very strong element that a lot of us don't even understand today, and that's grieving, processing grieving. So what does grieving look like after the fact, and what is the appreciation or the complexities between families and father, son, daughter relationships look like on the other hand? What were some of the directions that you gave them to kind of stay true to their characters on both sides?
I would I just always talk to them about if when the passing had happened, right? So we see when the passing happens, but we go back. There was always a thing for me: is the judge alive or is the judge dead? That would base a few things on lighting, camera, choice or whatnot. But that's the technical stuff. For the actors, I would just always talk to them about the level of maturity that you deal with it. And it seems like as we get older, so the older Talcott gets, the older Mariah gets, the older Addison gets, we just become more protected individuals until you see that moment when they're there in front of the grave. And then later in the season, Tal has his own personal moment there as again. in front of the grave. And you realize every time I see one of those scenes, I think back to that inaudible moment between Addison and his father and say, well, what if your dad had passed that afternoon after the chess tournament? Would he have grieved in the same way?
Mm.
We don't expect his grieving to come up when it's the three of them. I mean, that's almost my favorite moment of the entire season, is when those three just embrace at their father's grave, because it really does show that no matter who you've built yourself up to be, that window to your past can always kind of just hit you when you least expect it, man.
It's a beautiful answer, and I totally agree. It's one of my favorite scenes too. And I just want to say that Tiffany Mack in that moment with Mariah does some magic.
She's becoming a household name after that.
100%.
Bingo. Sherman and Damian, thank you so much for your time today. Emperor of Ocean Park comes to MGM Plus July 14th.